Hello writers, come write with me. My name is Mykela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Write with Mykela. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today is Tuesday, so we are going to talk about motivation today. There is intrinsic motivation, which is internal. There is extrinsic motivation, which is external. Someone can have ulterior motives or a secret reason for a motivation. As writers, we need to know what motivates people, or more precisely, what motivates our characters. So let's look at a definition and some common motives. Excuse me. Motivation is the reason why humans and even animals initiate, continue, or terminate a behavior at a given time. Motivation is also a mental state, such as desires or beliefs about what one ought to do, or intentions. We have desires to fill our needs, like food and shelter, to fill our wants, like a Lamborghini or fine jewelry, or simply to fill our current urges. This mental state is the process of motivating individuals to take action in order to achieve a goal. Now, intrinsic motivation is if the activity is desired because it is inherently interesting or enjoyable, while extrinsic is an external reward distinctly different from the activity itself. A person might be motivated to get a job because he or she desires money. Money's external. A person might be motivated to do well in school, to have his or her parents proud of him or her. The money from a job, like I said, would be external, extrinsic motivation. But the pride of a parent, or to have pride for yourself, is internal or intrinsic motivation. Of course, a person may be conscious of his motivation, his or her motivation, or they may be unconscious of the motivation, meaning they could be aware or unaware of their own motivation. Parents and teachers teach us our beliefs as children, and we may follow them unaware of why we feel motivated to do certain things, like volunteer. Because of our beliefs, we may feel the need to volunteer. But if we look at our work schedule and our responsibilities, we may ask ourselves why we took it on. Don't get me wrong. We need and appreciate volunteers. As writers, we have to decide what motivates our characters. If we have a hero, are they just internally or intrinsically motivated to help people and do the right thing? How strong is that motivation? And how far will that motivation carry him or her? Think about your life for a minute. How many Januaries have you made a list of resolutions? How many resolutions have you kept? That list could be a conscious list. And maybe we have eat more fruits and vegetables. So we would know the reward would be to be healthier. But how do you measure that? Think of athletes. What makes a runner run? Is it something they enjoy? Is it something where they can stop thinking about everything but running so it relieves stress? Do they enjoy marathons and want to participate in the next one in town? What motivates them? A lot of athletes have well-toned bodies, but was that the motivation? Or just one benefit? If a well-toned body was the motivation, we might all be athletes. Think about artists. What makes an artist pull out his or her easel, pens, pencils, or paints? How do they decide what to paint next? If they draw or paint for a living, then they may not ever get to just paint what they want. Would they still be motivated to continue their art? In everyday life, we do lots of things, from washing clothes and dishes, to mowing the lawn, to spring cleaning, to going to work on time, to being the little league coach, to you name it. What keeps us going? Why do we do mundane things and exceptional things? What is our motivation? When you create a character, they will have all the normal motivations. They will need to eat, want to succeed. Our stories don't have to include eating, but they have to include succeeding or failing. Let's talk about Frodo Baggins. As he was losing hope near the end and couldn't continue, Sam picked him up and carried him. Most of us have days where we just want to throw up our hands or throw in the towel and just quit. Some of us more than others, but many times we also have a friend who will remind us of our why we started and why we should keep going. Think of Elon Musk for a minute. He had a vision, putting a shuttle or a rocket into space. And 3 of those, the first 3, blew up. It was all his money riding on the line, but he pressed forward and succeeded. How many of us would have gone with the old adage, 3 strikes and you're out? How many of us would have given up before that 4th rocket? We write stories, and I mean good stories, when we have the characters keep going somehow. Most times they have strong intrinsic motivation to put one foot in front of the other. Even when fighting the antagonist, they don't see an end in sight. They are motivated and determined to see things through, even if they die trying. Now, in the United States, many of our stories don't end with the death of the protagonist, but motivation to meet death is often there until the end of the story. What is your character's motivation? How do your characters keep going? I can tell you as a teacher, the administrators encouraged us to give treats to the kids who performed well or who obeyed. But I didn't necessarily agree with giving candy for good behavior. But how many stickers or pencils does a child need or want? That's the trouble with extrinsic motivation. There has to be an external reward, and the interest in the reward may wane. Elon Musk didn't put a shuttle or rocket in space because he would make back the money he invested. He did it because he desired it internally. His reward was intrinsic. I want you to remember that. Let's look at dopamine, which is a chemical or set of chemicals in your brain that moves you toward your goal or away from harm. Some people refer to it as the feel-good chemical. So yes, we can give our characters a hit of dopamine, which currently society thinks dopamine confers motivational importance through whatever action. But for our protagonists, we want the rewards to be internal or intrinsic. A fireman doesn't run into a burning building to rescue a baby because he will get a piece of candy or even a paycheck. He does it because of something inside of himself. Let's go back to your list of resolutions for a minute. I went to a seminar once, and the speaker brought a jar of corn seeds. He said that the jar of corn seeds was like our resolutions. The seeds would never grow if you didn't put them in the ground. The seeds needed the right environment. We too need the right environment or circle of friends to accomplish our goals. Our main character or characters will need the right environment or circle of friends to accomplish their goals. Think of Will Smith in I Am Legend. He wanted to find a cure to the disease, and he was running tests. But near the end of the movie, he was giving up and near suicidal. Thankfully, a new character, Anna, showed up and helped him escape and brought him back to his house, where he learned that he had found the cure. He looked at the experiment and he realized that it had worked. Will Smith had a breaking point. He had lost his family, and near the end, his dog got the disease, and he had to kill his own dog. But then, why continue? That's why he got near suicidal, is because he saw no reason to continue. These are all things to think about when you write a story. I've said before, you can't have all rainbows and roses, except maybe if you're writing a children's book or children's books. You can't have all hurricanes and tornadoes. There has to be a balance, or there will be a breaking point. There also has to be motivation. There has to be a reason to continue the journey or the story. How many things can come against your protagonist before they quit? Or they just cannot go forward. And when they get to that point, does your story have a Sam? Does your story have an Anna to save your main character and then bring your character's goal to fruition, even when your main character or protagonist no longer can? If you are writing an action, the protagonist will need to have the end in sight sooner, because there's no rest for the weary in an action. Just go, 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 go. In City of the Ancients, my characters have rest, time to forget bad things, so continuing is a little easier. They don't enter the inner forest thinking about their recent battle with the dissenters. They only think of Kilty's cure. Kilty's cure is their goal. Right now, the book doesn't have too much action with the creatures in the inner forest or the trouble those will give the three friends, but in another edit run, I will add that. Still, once they're in the inner forest, their goal is within sight. The three friends are motivated intrinsically because they want Kilty to live a long time and live with them. They love her. There is no pay. There is no reward. If, however, you watch Smokey and the Bandit, a long time ago, I think it was 1970s or something, you know there was a big paycheck and rewards for those characters to accomplish their goals. So they had a reason to do their long drive across from, I think, Texas to California or something like that. But they had a reason. They saw that paycheck and they could do it. I will warn you that external rewards only go so far. I personally would not ever run a marathon for $1 million. You just couldn't get me to do it. Mostly because I think I would die before I reached the finish line. And then $1 million wouldn't do me any good. Think about this when you create your characters and your story. In Smokey and the Bandit, they didn't have too much life danger. They just didn't want they didn't want the law to catch them. There, of course, was some humor in the movie as well. So if you're writing a comedy more than an adventure, then external rewards can turn quite funny, especially if the reward is not exactly as expected. I have given you a lot to think about. Leave a comment below on one of your accomplishments, on what motivated you to take it up and complete it. Most of us are not heroes, And thankfully, we will never have the ability or opportunity to even test that muscle. But that doesn't mean we don't have fortitude and motivation. Whatever helps you put one foot forward can also help your characters continue their journey. Join me Friday for story time. I will read City of the Ancients, Chapter 18, Castle Eastpolk. Join me Tuesday for some more jargon or writing prompt. If you have a suggestion on what I should do, then leave that in the comments. I actually think I didn't delve deep enough into perspectives, so I think I'll take another stab at it. Writers may send their chapters for the chapter exchange to WritewithMykela@gmail.com. That's going to be at the end of the video, so you don't have to write it down right now if you don't want to. In between days, you can visit my website at www.bymykela.com. That's also going to be posted at the end of the video. And my website is where you can find fictional character biographies. So I give you a little history or something about the characters in my stories so that you kind of know why they're acting the way they're acting inside this story. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, then please share it with them. This is Mykela with Write with Mykela. Bye for now.